Mic check, 1, 2. Well, hello. I'm back. I'm back because this is what we do. You only live once. Hello, Trusty Podcast. Mr. Kevin Chaos of the They Them Persuasion here. Here for a good old April Fool's episode. April Fool's. Yes, this was supposed to air April 1st. Actually, I think it was supposed to air quite a while before that, but it is what it is. We're back. We're, doing a little better. Doing, somewhat better. We'll leave that alone for now. Updates. Did the show. Yes, I did the show, and I've seen people. Do worse, I guess. For me, it was kind of like an amateurish experience. Kind of like the first time you got up on stage and played music. The musical end wasn't very. There'll be some clips. But today we're going to talk about the significance of the frogs and all the plagues in Exodus. I found a very interesting article. There's multiple resources where you can find this information, but I just thought it was interesting. I had never really looked into it. What was the significance, particularly of the frogs? I thought it was kind of a weird plague, kind of a bit, creepy, but relatively, innocuous. But, apparently to the Egyptians, there's a bit more significance. So we'll take a look at that here. Make sure you can read this. We're at Owlcation, which appears to be a Christian website. I don't know. It should only take a few minutes. It shouldn't take too long, and I'm drinking moderately. But this was brewed 8 miles north of here or something, so it's safe. We know it's safe. Okay. This is 10 Egyptian plagues for 10 Egyptian gods. And so there will be corresponding, as I read along with the allocation publication here. You can find allocation.com. Corresponding Egyptian gods and goddesses to their types of plagues. The first is Hapi, the Egyptian god of the Nile. You can see there's some pretty awesome illustrations here. I've enjoyed them. I don't think I can get rid of the pop-ups. They're just kind of stuck. Oh, maybe we can. Still not quite as full screen as I'd like. So the first plague, obviously, the water of the Nile turned to blood. The first plague that was given to the Egyptians from God, excuse me, was that of turning the water to blood. As Aaron, the spokesman for Moses, touched the rod of the Lord to the Nile, it immediately turned to blood. All the fish died and the river stank. Now, I thought the dead fish in the stinking river was, probably a little more significant. But yeah, I guess it's true. And what kind of blood was it? They never really specified. It could have been any kind of blood, really. There's some speculation there may have been some actual poisoning of the Nile at one time, like unintentional or something, I don't know, sulfur or something that would be released kind of from underground. But that's neither here nor there. It does correspond, I guess, to their river god. 7 days the water throughout the land of Egypt remained in a state unsuitable for drinking, perfect length of time to demonstrate that the Lord was superior to all the gods of Egypt. Heket, Egyptian goddess of fertility, water, and renewal. And this is the, I don't know how well you can see that image, but this is the frog-headed goddess. I'm not sure what exactly she's doing there. Like she's fingering the crack. I don't know. So frogs coming from the Nile. Still Pharaoh refused to let the children of Israel go from the presence of Egypt. The second plague that was extended upon Egypt from the rod by Aaron. I don't know why rod is in quotations here. I guess. Anyway. Frogs came up from the river and were in their houses, their food, their clothing, and every place possible, which just doesn't seem likely. Frogs generally aren't attracted to humans at all, if you never noticed. You ever tried to catch one? Yeah. Not. From the greatest to the least, no one in Egypt. Maybe they had some kind of disease, but it was, again, related to this goddess, Heket, who was a frog lady. So, gotta love the frog ladies. Geb, Egyptian god of the earth. And this is a very suggestive picture here. It looks like he has a snake's head. And there's a woman just kind of chilling above him. I mean, that's cool. Cool with me. Lice from the dust of the earth? I'm a little confused about that one because it doesn't really explain this Geb guy because he looks like a snake to me. I don't know how you get lice from snakes, but I've never heard of that before. Still Pharaoh would not concede, even after this display of power from the Lord or magnificent plague. He would not let them go at the command of the Lord to Moses. Aaron was told to stretch forth his rod and smite the dust of the earth. He smote it. And when he did, the dust became lice throughout all the land on both people and beasts. The very dust that was referred to in the creation process of man is now used to plague man as a reminder of his mortality and sin, which both led to death. Okay. It's important to note that obviously there is no historical evidence for any of these events factually happening, at least not in the way they are portrayed. I think there's probably locusts were kind of a recurring problem throughout history somewhere in there, but that really had nothing to do with this. Just historically speaking, this is I don't know what you'd call it. Anyway, move on to the next one. Finally, the magicians of Pharaoh are humiliated, being unable to compete with this power that was so much greater than themselves, and blah blah blah. Finger of God touching me. This was the last plague that required Aaron's involvement because Moses got over a speech impediment. Khepri, Egyptian god of creation, movement of the sun, rebirth. Okay, so this is like the big guy. And he's got the scarab beetle, I think is what that is on his head. That's like a terrible depiction compared to the others, in my opinion. I don't know what the hell's going on with that one. And this is the guy, it's the swarm of the flies. I'm parched. With the fourth Egyptian plague, which consisted of flies, begins the great miracle at separation or differentiation. I don't know what they're talking about here. Again, I just was interested in the link to the various gods and goddesses and the plagues themselves, at least as they are portrayed in Exodus. Let my people go. Pharaoh hardens his heart. And then they're swarmed with flies. This time, however, only the Egyptians are affected by the judgment or plague, and the children of Israel remain unscathed. Pharaoh tries bargaining with the Lord. I'm now paraphrasing because it's pretty long-winded, and we kind of know how the story goes, right? I just want to see if there's any more significance between the flies themselves and this god. I don't see how you correlate flies with a scarab beetle, but I guess they both kind of hang out around shit. I mean, I don't know much about beetles. The temporary allowance made solely to have Moses entreat the Lord that the swarms of flies may depart, but at this point Pharaoh has learned in part who the Lord is and asks for his assistance over the Egyptian gods and goddesses. As soon as the request is granted by the Lord, Pharaoh reneges his promise and will not let them go and continues to worship his Egyptian gods. Very good. So yeah, they don't want them to worship these gods, obviously, because we already know this guy's pretty jealous as it is. But I'm confused because initially in the story they just want to go worship Yahweh out in the hills or something like that, or the desert, wherever it be. And Pharaoh's like, why can't you just do it right here? And they were like, nah, we can't do that. And now they're like, well, now you gotta worship him too, That's not supposed to happen. If you guys just saw that, lights just did a thing. One second. Maybe some kind of timer, I don't know. Alright. I'm probably butchering these names like I do all the names from anywhere in the Bible or history, unless it's like, well, I don't know, I do some justice to some Greek and Latin and such, but just because I'm lucky, not because I'm educated. Hathor, Egyptian goddess of love and protection. Now, why would look at that? She looks like a very nice looking goddess lady. Big feet. All the Egyptians had really big feet. You notice that, or is it just me? I mean, I don't mind it, but they killed cattle and livestock. I guess she's got a bull's horns. is what's on her crown, along with a snake of some kind. I really thought it was going to have more on the actual gods and goddesses themselves. But hey, it is what it is. So this one corresponds to the death of the cattle and livestock, as we read about. Moses once again demanded of Pharaoh, "Let my people go." And then this plague is given with an advanced warning, allowing a period of repentance to occur, but that goes unheeded. So tomorrow, if you don't repent by tomorrow, we're gonna kill your cows. Well, we're not just gonna kill them; they're gonna get sick first, and then they're gonna die. So, that's that was what it was. Then we have Isis, the Egyptian goddess of medicine and peace. Again, looking quite splendorful in that particular depiction. I don't know, this one looks a little darker. Birds, looks like there's some birds involved there. And their ashes turned to boils and sores. So they throw some ashes on them or blow some ashes on them, and they end up covered in boils and sores. And apparently, okay, this is kind of interesting. As with the previous two, throughout the remaining Egyptian plagues, a division is drawn between the Egyptian and the children of Israel. Right, so the Jews don't lose any cattle or get sick from this stuff. As God gives protection to his covenant people, the severity of the judgment of God has now become personal, as it is actually felt by the people themselves. Man, I really need to go get a new pair of glasses. Get on that tomorrow. Cleanliness being paramount in the Egyptian society, this plague pronounces the people unclean. The magicians who have been seen throughout the previous plagues are unable to perform any ceremonial rituals to their Egyptian gods and goddesses in this unclean state, not allowing them to even stand before Pharaoh. They are seen in the scriptural account no more. It is great to notice the contrast shown as Moses and Aaron are the only ones left standing in front of Pharaoh, with the one true God as their support. Again, quotation marks. I'm not entirely sure about the writer of this. We'll look into it maybe at the end here. Newt. I imagine that's pronounced Newt, not Nut, but it could be Nut. The Egyptian goddess of the sky. I'm pretty sure it's Newt. Egyptian plague, hail rained down in the form of fire. Yeah, yes. Flaming ice. It's like dry ice, but on fire. Again, God warns them. He's like, nah, what else are you going to do? We already killed our cows, and you gave us boils, and you made us not clean. What are you going to do? You're going to rain down some fire on me in the form of hail? I mean, hail in the form of fire, whatever you call it. Right. Interestingly enough, the crops that were destroyed by the hail consisted of flax and barley, which were ripening in the field. These two particular crops were not the mainstay of their diet, but used more specifically for clothing and libations. This destruction would make their life very uncomfortable, but as far as affecting their food supply, the wheat still survived, and this gave the Egyptians still another chance to turn to Yahweh and forsake their own gods and goddesses, thus showing the mercy and grace of the one true God. I'm sorry, I can't help it. Seth, the Egyptian god of storms and disorder. I think this one's my favorite, and it's... I think that's the one that's supposed to be a dog's head, right? Like the long. I always think they're something else, but I think it's a dog's head. A locust sent from the sky. Ooh, that's a good one. A plague of locusts. Okay, The eighth plague had an even greater purpose than all the others. It was to be felt so that Pharaoh would tell even his sons and sons' sons the mighty things of the Lord, thus teaching thus teaching even future generations of the power of the strong hand of God over all the Egyptian gods and goddesses. Here it says other, and that's why I really do think, at least whoever wrote this definitely subscribes to the fact that Yahweh is actually acknowledging these other gods and goddesses, which is obviously the best interpretation you can take, at least in that portion of the Bible. And Moses and Aaron talked to Pharaoh, blah blah blah, and all the now whatever crops were left intact were now completely consumed by the locusts. So that would have actually killed their food supply off, according to this, displaying the possibility of imminent death. Remember, we have two more to go. These guys are all stubborn. Ra, everyone's favorite god, the sun god, and obviously there were 3 days of darkness, some type of solar eclipse. Some of these illustrations are a little whack. I guess Ra has the bird's head, like a falcon or something like that, and then he's just got some random beezy back there grooming his tail feathers. I don't know. Uh, 3 days of palpable darkness that was so immense it could be physically felt like it was cold. I don't know. And then Pharaoh themselves, because all the pharaohs were considered the gods over the domain of Egypt, I guess. And so this is the last one, the death of the firstborn. Considered to be the greatest Egyptian god of all, I guess, because there's there are probably many books. There's one I wish I could pull it up for you now, but there's a history of ancient Egypt that's very good, where you can see how, as it turns out, in their time, they actually managed to, at certain periods of time, convince the people of Egypt that the Pharaoh had lived much longer than they had by finding replacements, and they were veiled, and there were all these kind of deceptive tactics, so that like in the records, the people would think that one pharaoh served for like 500 years or something like that, but in reality, obviously, nobody lives for 500 years, and it was a series of different people, and there's a secondary record to the lives of those individuals, right? But that wasn't the way it was perceived at the time, which may have something to do with why, like the accounts in the Old Testament and the biblical texts and stuff like that, also accounted for people living much longer than people do live, right? Because maybe they're observing the records of other dynasties and whatnot who had adopted this tactic, trying to immortalize their leaders figuratively and effectively doing so, really in the eyes of the people. This was the public's perception as they intended it. So the Pharaoh is the greatest god of all, the king of Egypt, sometimes a queen, but I think even the female pharaohs were disguised as males. And were worshipped, considered to be, and it was believed that he was actually the son of Ra, the creator himself. So, kind of like a Jesus figure, manifest in the flesh. It's pretty similar. So, that's pretty much it. So we had 10 gods and goddesses, including the Pharaoh himself, who were represented in some way. Their purposes were reflected in those stories, So it's definitely a lot of symbolism there. Obviously, to those early monotheists who were like, "Nah, y'all can't have all these other gods, yo. It's not happening here." So yeah, that's what I got for you. Hey, 25 minutes or so. It took me a couple to get started. Hopefully, the microphone doesn't sound like total baloney. I'm doing a lot better today than the last time you saw me. Excuse me. Sorry about that. And, well, I guess I'll just say it, things, the situation has changed for me. So, certain family members I probably won't be seeing much, if at all. Certain places I used to have a place at. I no longer have that place. And, there's various reasons. Believe it or not, there are still things I won't talk about on YouTube's or even just the people. There's things that probably should be, spoken with professionals about, not just by myself, but the other parties involved. But not everybody's willing to do that. So we can only work on us and wish the best for others and try to give them the right advice. And that's what I have to do now. So as you see, I'm back in my office here. I'm redecorating. I'll give you a little 360. It's a mess. I'm sorry. There's the door, the curtain. Oh yes, my desk. I'm not at my desk. I'm on the couch. My guitars. Poor Purple Rain had a hell of a night on Monday. Little girl took a couple hard falls on that tile floor, and she's not happy with me. So I'm gonna have to give her some tender love and care. And in the meantime, I keep doing what I do. Try to keep coming on here. As you can see, I am still without my glasses. Yeah, no illicit drugs. Just some marijuana. I'll smoke some marijuana like a Woodstock hippie when I get out of here, and the beer. Just got the one, and this little nightcap if I need a little extra. It's just a tiny white Zinfandel. Nothing major, and I don't condone drinking or drug use. Don't do it. Just say no, kids. It's all bad. No, the point is that I'm doing it a lot better than the other times. The last couple times, you know how it is. And such is life. Trusty podcast. YOLO. Good to see you in the comments, me. Okay. That lets me know it's time to go, boo-boo. Alright, and whenever we come back, we'll come back. It'll be great. You're all going to love it. Be well, be kind to each other, be good to yourselves, stay fucking trusty. Namaste.